Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. And here we are, Florida, Miami prediction. A little bit different schedule this week. Heading to Orlando, see one of my favorite bands, Sleep Token, on Wednesday night. So I'm going to put this episode out on Wednesday. And then we will have an opponent preview. Sponge would join me and a special guest would join me. As we'll talk Florida, Miami a little more in depth than I will today, but going to give, some of my angles of Miami and the prediction at the end of that segment. Also followed by Focus on the Gators with Alex Shepard. We'll talk to Alex. Of course, it was an away game last week, so he wasn't on the field taking photos, but some good conversation coming up, big picture stuff, all the news from this week of the suspension of Jabbar Juluke, Caleb Banks being out. So good conversation there with Alex. And, yeah, lots to get into. Kind of a crazy week for me right here. But, hey, there's plenty to get into, of course, even though it's not where we want it to be. We're going to sit here and cover it like we always do as the Gators go to Miami to take on the Hurricanes. And it's going to be a statement either way. Miami's looking to make a statement. And if Florida somehow pulls it out, that's going to be a statement in and of itself. So, of course, interesting storyline still with this game early on in this college football season. Well, also with that, early in this college football season, we're about 3 weeks in, and it's going to be a crazy season. We know that. We'll go have some fun at MyBookie. And we got the upsets, we got the blowouts in MyBookie. Hey, look, they let you hit it all. If you think you know what's going to happen, if you can read college football right now, there's no better place to go. Season's starting to take shape. And you can get in on the action right there. Florida, Miami, the line at MyBookie, 7.5 favoring Miami. Of course, sounds like many out there on social media that I can see taking that 7.5. So with that line change, you better get in on it right now at MyBookie. Florida's last couple performances paired with Miami starting off so well. You can see that line may not be there a little while, much longer. Over under a 51.5. Go bet it at MyBookie. It's your one-stop sports book and casino in one. Look, one account, one wallet. They make it easy. Bet football all weekend, and you can spend some time hitting those casino games right there at MyBookie. No switching apps, no jumping platforms. Bet in on the NFL as well. If you're new to MyBookie, use our promo code Gators and get your first bet up to $500 fully covered. Make your play. If it doesn't hit, you get it right back with a bet back bonus. No stress, just a one-time rollover on the return bet. So you're free to reload and keep firing. So sign up at mybookie.ag with promo code Gators and claim your bet back bonus. Let's get right here. Going to the Miami Hurricanes led by Mario Cristobal, of course, hired the same time as Billy Napier. And going into that 2022 season, and certainly a head coach where they're feeling much better about theirs than Florida is about Billy Napier. One big part of that, they've got that offense figured out. 2 seasons in a row now. Last year with Cam Ward, this year now with Carson Beck. It's the number 1 offense in the country right now, led by Shannon Dawson. You got to think he'll be getting some head coaching looks if he does this again with 2 different quarterbacks. So look, they've already racked up, an average scoring margin of plus 34.4 across the first 3 games of the season. Of course, highlighted last week by the 49-12 just demolishing of USF after USF beat Florida the week before. And they got the statement win over Notre Dame as well, putting up points there in Coral Gables. And of course, Carson Beck, much more comfortable. Crazy to on the surface, it sounds crazy in some ways, but if you follow recruiting, it probably shouldn't. But Carson Beck's got a better offensive line at Miami than he did at Georgia. He's only been sacked twice and pressured on 11 of his 86 dropbacks, 12.8%. That's according to Pro Football Focus. Comparatively, he was pressured on 21.2% of his dropbacks last year. So 12.8 this year, 21.2 last year while at Georgia. With that, he's thrown for 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Those interceptions coming last week against USF, by the way. And he leads the country with a 79.3% completion percentage. Like I said, only sacked twice. And now you look at the Florida defense, only 2 sacks so far this season. The pressure rate for Florida is not that great. There's been times, but can't get home and finish it. You look at Carson Beck, 12.5 yards per completion, 10.5 adjusted net yards per attempt. I mean, they're aggressive in this passing attack. They're going down the field. And I question, how fast would Beck be able to come together with his wide receivers this season? Some new faces there. And it's come together pretty fast. Malachi, Toney, CJ Daniels, Joshua Moore. And you got Toney and Moore. They're true freshmen playing big roles so far. Toney, who's starting as a first-year player, leads Miami in both catches and receiving yards through 3 weeks. And we saw it all on display week 1 versus Notre Dame. He's totaling 18 receptions for 228 yards and a touchdown. And you got Moore. He's added 6 catches for 76 yards and 2 scores as well. So in total, 31 catches, 391 yards, 12.6 yards per catch for, these true freshmen that also have 3 touchdowns. True freshmen making a big difference. Vernell Brown III here at Florida as well. So, both these schools at the wide receiver spot relying on some true freshmen. Miami even more so right now because they can actually throw the ball pretty well with Carson Beck right now. So those freshmen getting even more involved. But Miami's run game, too, been pretty effective. Averaging 179.3 rushing yards per game. Offensive line ranks 10th by PFF in run blocking. Mark Fletcher coming off of a game last week for 120 yards, 7.5 yards carry. 5.63 yards after contact, showing some individual play as well. That's going to be tough. Florida's front seven needs to come ready to play. You like that? Caleb Banks, of course, being out for Florida hurts. You like what Florida has shown front seven so far, especially at linebacker for Florida. Miles Graham, Jade Robinson, Pup Howard, Aaron Childs, I think, so instrumental in this game right now in making and keeping that Miami run game in check. I think you can hang with them if you can get that. If they get that going too, that it is going to be a blowout. If Miami gets the run game going, it won't be close. We like what we've seen there. Hopefully the Florida defense continues their strong play in stopping the run game. But that's the key for me for this game, staying within reach. I do worry about Florida safeties in this game, especially if the Florida pressure can't get home. LSU was doing some good things there last week. Couldn't really take advantage of it. Not a consistent performance last week from LSU's offense, but Beck and this Miami offense, they can take it to another level with their weapons at the receiver spot. So I like the front seven and that talent for Florida. The Gators defense, that's the strongest point. And these previous offenses Florida's has faced so far this year kind of just plays into the strong part of Florida's defense. I like what I see at corner as well. But this DB room is about to be tested like it hasn't yet this season. And if the big plays happen, watch the replay and see what happens at safety, because that's where I think it's going to come from. That's where I most likely think it will come from. So Jordan Castell, Bryce Thornton, better be ready. Better be ready. Beck was turnover prone last year, of course. But I think with this offensive line, he looks more comfortable. It's coming off that 2 interception performance last week. So hopefully Florida can replicate what we saw in Jacksonville last year and be able to take more advantage of it. All right, we'll continue on this short preview. As I said, there will be another episode this week. We'll dive even more. I have some Miami special guests joining me and Sponge. So we'll get in even more. But this is kind of my quick preview prediction. I said this week was going to be different, and we'll go to the Miami defense now. And boy, I know what we want the Florida offense to do, especially with a struggling quarterback, and that is to run the ball. But Miami so far excelling against the run with a 28% rushing success rate. That's 9th nationally right now. And they've played USF. They've played Notre Dame. So there's some substance behind that. 3 yards per rush. They're giving us 14th in the country. Yeah, so 9th in success rate, like I said, but allowing a pretty soft 64% completion rate. And that's 94th in the country. With 14% of their passes defended going for 20-plus yards. That's 64th in the country. Last week, they gave a pair of deep passes up on USF. And we saw that in firsthand as well. One-on-one situations with cornerback Damari Brown. He allowed a 43-yard catch down the sideline in the first quarter. while O.J. Frederick allowed a 53-yarder in the second quarter to USF. Both passes were caught by Chaz Nimrod, who I like a good bit at USF at the receiver spot. He got in better possession. He made the plays, used his speed as well. Those receptions eventually led to points. Just not sure how that matches up with what we think we need to see from this Gator offense. Now, I think this Gator run game can be potentially, and here's the dangerous word because we haven't seen it yet. It's something we thought we would rely on this year a little bit. Haven't seen it yet, but can it show up this week in Coral Gables? Needing to rely on a run game that we thought would be pretty strong. We know we like Jaden Ball. We like what Jaden Ball can do. Can he get more help from his offensive line? Can other running backs get something going besides Jaden Ball? Can DJ Lagway do better in the run game? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. But when we have seen him take off and run this year, there isn't much there. Can he have a few key runs? This Miami defense so far is not letting up in that regard. You know, we need to rely on this run game to also help protect DJ Lagway. But if Miami's in prime position to stop the run, then what do you do? If they continue their good play in that aspect, how do you adjust with a struggling quarterback? Is this going to be the game Lagway flips it? Can he flip it? Can he start hitting downfield throws? Can he start hitting downfield throws? If Miami's going to give them to you, and I think they will because of what they've seen from Lagway so far, and where they struggled a little bit last week, can Lagway take advantage if they're there? I mean, they could be there with the run game going for Florida. It might even be there more so if the run game's going for Florida. But the game's on his shoulders at any point because the run game can't get going. If there's a slow spell of the game and they can't get it going, what can DJ Lagway do in that regard? So it might sound cliche, but just this short preview right now, I think for Florida, it's stopping the Miami run game from the game getting out of hand, and for Florida to get the ground game going because of your quarterback play so far. Rueben Bain, that's the one player we'll feature right now. We'll get more later this week, but man, oh man, I do not like that matchup on the right side of this Gator offensive line. Sophomore edge rush, disruptive force for Miami through 3 games so far. 10 total tackles, 100% tackle success rate. It goes beyond the stat sheet when you're watching him. Team leading 7 pressures on 39 pass rush snaps, so about 18% pressure rate. 1.5 sacks, a forced fumble. Tied for the team lead with 4 total havoc plays. He's already, registered 2 run stops, 1 pass deflection. 2.63 second average time to pressure. And his third down presence, 41.7% pressure rate on passing downs, make him a problem. He can get in the backfield fast. And we've seen it already through 3 games this year. And this Gator offensive line, especially on that right side, has it been consistent at all? Been a lot of pressure. While DJ Lagway struggling himself, some pressure in his face to make it even worse. His footwork's not great right now. He's not happy in the pocket right now. Is that really going to get better against Rueben Bain this Saturday? You can see you can see in a lot of ways this is not a great matchup for Florida, given what we've seen Miami be able to do and what Florida can't do so far this year. So I will go ahead and give my prediction, and then we'll dive even further into this game this week. You could probably hear it. Probably not you've been able to hear it the last few episodes. Not too high on where the Gators are right now. I don't think it gets any better in Coral Gables. I don't think Miami's going to really be letting up in this one. Don't think Florida's going down there. Once again, have to remind, Miami's a good team. Florida's playing them at their place. We thought if Miami had lost to Notre Dame and Florida had been 3-0 coming into this game, maybe some kind of Gator takeover in the stadium. That's not happening. You got game day there. There's Miami crowds. We saw it against Notre Dame. That was impressive for them. They can rely on that fan base in some of the big games that we've seen throughout the last few years or so. Well, it's going to be a good atmosphere for the Miami side. And we've seen the struggles with Florida on the road under Billy Napier. Cannot beat a good team. Is that really going to reverse course this Saturday? I don't think so. 34-17 Miami. I don't know if this one you feel really comfortable at all ever in the second half. I think I can see Miami getting up quick and then just kind of staying in that 2-score range throughout the whole game. I do think a good start is key for Florida, maybe given where this team, the mindset, the headspace is right now. If you can stay in it, you got a chance. But if it gets ugly early, the bottom could fall out. The bottom could fall out. I'm predicting a slow start and then settling down, but I won't be surprised if it's a bad start. Like something like Tennessee, Georgia last week, but then you just don't come back like Georgia did. Like it just continues to get out of hand. I hope that's not what we see. I can see it happening. I'm not predicting that to happen, but you can certainly see that on the table. You can see that on the table. All right, we got some more in this episode of Gators Breakdown. We'll focus on the Gators with Alex Shepard. But we got some more. And a good partnership. Gator Drywall with Duval. And look, with them, I just made a prediction, bad for Florida. Well, I don't have a bad prediction with Gator Drywall with Duval. They're going to help me out here. They're going to help me out. I got those outdated popcorn ceilings. That's getting fixed soon. Fitting fixed soon in my home. Partnering with these guys. Been transforming Jacksonville homes for over 25 years. Got them scheduled to modernize my ceilings soon. I like the family atmosphere with Brandon and Gator Drywall of Duval. His crew, they treat every project like they're working on their own home. True professionals, handling everything from new construction to repairs and drywall installation, finishing, texturing, and yes, that popcorn ceiling removal I just cannot wait to experience. Gator Drywall of Duval takes care of every detail from start to finish. No headaches, no surprises. Just quality craftsmanship that'll make you proud of your home again. I'll be sharing my experience with these guys, the before and after photos when they finish my place. So, look, if you've been staring at those outdated ceilings for far too long like I have, call the experts at Gator Drywall of Duval. 904-793-2088. 904-793-2088. Or visit GatorDrywallofDuval.com. All right, here we are again, another edition of Focus on the Gators with Alex Shepard. And, well, we come and how's that coffee tasting?
It's tea, actually.
Oh, tea.
Okay. I've got the tea.
In a Jaguars cup, not a Gators cup.
No, yes.
One team Gators playing much better, even though after losing to Cincinnati, but one team's playing much better.
Yep. I mean, still shooting ourselves in the foot as a Jaguars fan. But you know what? How many years has it been where just both teams, it's like every weekend I go in excited and I come out feeling incredibly disappointed. But you know what? That only means there's only one place to go, and that's hopefully up and not the same direction.
There we go. So some tea to get the vocal cords ready to talk about these Gators. And it is what it is. By the way, Alex and I are recording this on Wednesday morning, as in a couple of hours, we're getting ready to head out to see some Sleep Token.
Oh, yeah,
Wednesday night. So I don't know when you're listening to this, everybody, but that's what our Wednesday is going to be filled with.
Yeah,
so
some
Gators
metalheads here.
Yeah, Gator talk to start in the morning, and some metal, some R&B, some jazz, however you want to decide to label Sleep Token. That's it's fun, but some of you out there know who the band is and stuff, and we've talked behind the scenes and all that good stuff. So it's going to be an exciting day anyway.
Yeah, we've had this to look forward to no matter how we were going to start these first three games. We knew this was coming. So, I'm excited to talk some Gator football, obviously. And then, like you said, we're both going to be jumping out of here probably in the next couple hours to get down to Orlando and have ourselves a fun night.
Absolutely. So what was not a fun night, Alex, was Saturday night in Baton Rouge for the Gators. And Gators falling to 1-2. Of course, we've talked a lot out here in Gator Nation about it, but you going back and look at it, not the first game, both of us to have not seen the Gators in person because it's the first road game for the Gators. So I guess not necessarily even about that game, but it can, of course, relate to it. What is your biggest takeaway from the 1-2 start?
Man, it's hard to pick one, right?
Yeah.
Let me say this. I'll give you two, and I think it's the general consensus of most of Gator Nation, which is one, the seeming regression of DJ Lagway. We're seeing a guy who came out, looked pretty solid as a true freshman last year, and gave a lot of people hope that this year, with some sort of progression, that he would look like the caliber of quarterback that we thought he would be. And now that we're sitting here after 3 games, the first game, you could have put in Aiden Warner and he probably would have thrown for 300 yards. So there really wasn't much we could glean from that. You get into the second and third games and you're looking at it going, okay, this is not something that is something that we expected. Something's up here. And you can't solely blame the play calling by itself. I do think that's my part 2 of this is what everyone sees, which is the play calling just isn't spectacular. And you have former players, LaMichael Pirine being one, calling out saying there's no way we're running this high school playbook still. And I mean, we all see it, right? We see the playbook is uninspiring. We see a quarterback who we know has the talent, but clearly has not gotten the development that you would aspire him to have. So I think that those are the 2 things moving forward that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. I mean, I had told you last week and the week before, I wasn't buying the hype on the team. And granted, I don't think any of us thought that we would see 5 interceptions in Death Valley. But I think this is just validating for the fact that, you know what, I wanted to keep my hopes lower out of fear for this playbook, out of fear for the development of Lagway. Because while Anthony Richardson is a generational talent, for example, we saw that what happened to him now that he's in the NFL. And we saw that maybe the development with the staff isn't quite where we need it to be.
So I put this in the Gators Breakdown Plus Discord on Tuesday. And what you just brought up, I think is worth me bringing up what I put in there. I hadn't put this out publicly yet. I hadn't put it out on Twitter. I hadn't put it out in podcast form. I wasn't really sure how I was going to put it out there. It was just a conversation between me and Gators Breakdown Plus members on the Discord. And I said, right now, 2 thoughts come to mind, or 2 words come to mind: trust and identity. For me, going to your points here, trust, I don't know if Lagway trusts himself right now or the offense, or trust himself in the offense. And identity, what is the identity on offense right now? Never did I think, now don't get me wrong, I know we've kind of clamored for it in some ways to open up this offense a little bit. Sure, that never for me meant to throw 49 times, especially when your quarterback is struggling. And we thought the identity of this team would be a strong running team anyway. And now you get to this point where DJ Lagway's struggling, so you know what? I thought that might lend itself even more to being a running team. I don't know what the identity of this team is right now. On offense, let me say that. I don't know what the identity is on offense right now. Just trust and identity right now are the 2 words that speak out to me the most about what we're seeing in the struggles on offense.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I think that I had seen something on Twitter. I think it might have been from Nick Delatorre when he said, people were asking, well, why aren't the Gators running the ball? Oh, it's because LSU's defense is really good. Well, yeah, of course, we're going to be playing a lot of great defenses this year. That doesn't mean that you go away from your biggest asset, which is Jaden Baugh and the ground game have shown that they have the talent and the ability to play well against tough defenses. And so when you have a quarterback, like you said, we all know DJ Lagway has talent, but when you're seeing that he is struggling, he is not making easy throws, and the only ones that he is making, it feels like, are the easy dump offs to the side. And you can tell he's uncomfortable. Why are you continuing to force him to make these throws, make these plays when it's just not what he wants to do right now? There's no way that he was sitting there thinking, I have the confidence to do this, even though he might say that publicly. You have Jaden Baugh, who is one of the best running backs in the SEC, in my opinion. He ran the ball 10 times.
Yep.
You ran the ball 10 times, and you have DJ Lagway throwing 50 times. I mean,
and Alex, this was a game. It was a 3-point game until the pick 6.
Exactly.
It's not like you were having to come back and throw the ball 50 times to get, save clock and save. No, it was a close game.
Yep. It was close. And it almost felt like the coaching staff was forcing the how do I describe this? Forcing the passing game to happen because they want DJ to shine, but the shine's not there, man. It's the fact that they are. I think I saw someone post like there's some favoritism on this team, and the people know it. They see that the coaching staff loves DJ, and we all love DJ as a person, and we love the talent and the potential. But we can't continue to lean on him and just assume that he's going to carry this team forward. He needs help. No one player can do it themselves. And so they need to start leaning on these other guys. And by the way, you retweeted me, I believe, on this. Where the heck is Trey Wilson? This guy they use him in motion 50 times a game, and he touches it like twice. And he's extremely talented, whether people agree on the route running or not. So I think that, we need to take the ball out of DJ's hands more often. We need to give it to the running game. We need to run more stuff with Trey Wilson, Trey Brown. We have the talent there, man. We just got to start spreading the ball around a little bit.
Yep. Alex, let's get into some news of this week. Of course, you and I are coming together on the heels of a night before where we get the news Jabbar Juluke is suspended for 3 games. By the way, the last coach I would have ever expected to be in a situation like this, from everything I've interacted with Juluke with and media opportunities and all that stuff, stand-up guy. I mean, of course, you can have bad moments. Everybody has bad moments. So I'm not labeling a reputation of Jabbar Juluke for this one incident. So there's that. And then it also, to me, and it kind of extends to when things aren't going well, these weird things always just start to seem happening around maybe the imminent firing of a coach or that's kind of the storyline here. I mean, like if we were thinking on the field, if it could go wrong, it would go wrong. Now we're thinking outside of the 60 minutes of a game time, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Yeah. And I will also mention, talking about on-field stuff, and I'll kind of transition into this Jabbar Juluke news. We're starting to see that the team is not standing out there for the alma mater after the games. And to me, that's one of the first major signs of a fracture in the locker room. Now, that might seem kind of cheesy, but I'm a fourth-generation Gator. So when I see guys, and I know how much that means to me, no matter if we won or lost games from when I was 3 years old till I was 21, when I was at every home game, my dad and I, we made sure we stayed for the alma mater up in our Section 1, row 81 seats across the entire stadium. You're seeing guys leave the field early. You're seeing a lot of dejection, which I understand, but to me, that's a sign of the team starting to potentially fracture a little bit. Now, with this news, the take that I've been seeing a lot of is, will this delay a potential decision on Billy Napier because Juluke might have been the next man up for taking the coaching gig for the interim. And that's a valid point. He'll be back in the bye week of Georgia, which I guess would be your next window to potentially do it because it seems like it makes the most sense to do it then. And on our previous podcast discussion, I had mentioned that this upcoming bye week would be one to look at, but now it seems like that timeline might be shifting given the suspension.
But if you know it's time, you don't let this hold you up.
Oh, I'm with you there.
I know you are. I'm speaking. They won't hear it, but I'm speaking to the admin here. So,
and even if they did hear it, they probably wouldn't act on it.
That's true. And part of that is like, and look, to me, even I'll admit, I don't think you fire him even with a loss. If it gets very ugly, I think you go ahead and make the move. Knowing that another bye week is on the horizon. I mean, the season's lost if you go out there and lose again, even a close loss, sure. But if you go out there and get blown out, yeah, just go ahead and blow it up. I don't care who the interim is. I know people, that is a sticking point. But my thing is, if we know it's just not going where we want it, does it really matter? Does it really? Yeah, it shouldn't matter. Ron Roberts has got previous head coaching experience, by the way. Small school, don't get me wrong. I know, not even comparing it at all. But Billy Gonzalez has been around the program for multiple coaches, multiple staffs. So there are other options, I think, if you wanted to go ahead and make that move because of Juluke. And I do agree with you. If he would have been, if the firing happened Saturday night, Sunday morning, yeah, Juluke, I think, would have been one of the guys you probably put in the running for doing it. But at that point, there's no difference in Billy Gonzalez or Ron Roberts. It doesn't matter.
No, I'm in 100% agreement with you, and I am of the mindset, just like you are, that if you know,
Yeah.
There's no real reason to delay it. I know that some people had speculated about delaying it so that guys can't enter the transfer portal and can't, opt out for the season after 4 games, which I think if guys were doing that, then the locker room was lost way before.
Correct.
Way before this firing would hypothetically happen. And so that would be a huge red flag for me, that the team knew and the admin probably knew long before any of us as fans or people covering the team knew it. So I unfortunately, I have a lot of family in Miami. I've been talking to my cousin Toney, who has been a season ticket holder for 20 years, about this team, about his team. And Miami's got something going on down there, man. They look good. Obviously Carson Beck has been fitting in much better than I thought he would. And so I was fearful for the LSU game, but their offense had been sputtering. Miami doesn't seem to have that problem right now. So I think that I think this one could get pretty ugly. And I'll be there photographing it and capturing all the lovely moments. So I guess we'll see what happens after this game. Like you said, if it's a blowout, I think what was it for Mullen? I think they started having firings after that. Was it South Carolina?
Yep.
Where there was like a 30-point loss or something.
There was a road game at South Carolina. By the way, I've been to Baton Rouge. I've been to Tallahassee. That night in 2021 at South Carolina was the worst road experience I've ever had.
I mean, I can imagine why.
So, but it was even before the game. They didn't know they were going to beat our brains in. It was even before the game.
Yeah.
So oddly enough,
Yeah, we'll see what happens here, man. And I can't imagine if they blow us out. Their fans are not nearly as kind as South Carolina fans.
I know if it was ugly there, it's gonna.
We might see some cars getting thrown over and again, I'm Cuban. My family's from Miami, so I just know that they love beating Florida, man. So I know that there will be some good times for them, but not so great for us on our travels back home. So I guess we'll see what happens and what Scott Strickland and the admin are thinking should that happen. I will say really quick, I do have you have the tiniest little bit of hope. It's like faint little star that's way off in the galaxy that you're looking at. Like maybe we find what we found last season and we get this little bit of a flicker of hope and that this team shows us something because it's Miami. And, a lot of these guys know each other, from recruiting. Yeah. Maybe there will be something there. But, we're talking about the faintest of flickers, man. So we'll see what happens.
It's funny because I brought up on the Discord this morning, when you get that flicker of hope, just remember we have not beat a good team on the road yet.
That's why it's very faint. It's like very far off in the back.
It's flickering.
It's like I need to replace the batteries and like the slow moving fan or whatever. It's what it feels like. But I do wonder. Let's just say we somehow pull out a win. Then what? Yeah. Then what?
Here's the dream scenario for me, and everybody, please just
put the asterisk there.
Yeah, asterisk. Put the disclaimer on there. Dream scenario here. Say it doesn't work out with Billy Napier this year, but you still find a way to beat Miami, you beat Georgia, and you beat Florida State. You go 4-8, but somehow those are your only wins. And then you get bragging rights and say, okay, we beat you, and you lost to a fired coach.
Yep, and you lost to a team that has like the worst record in however many years since Mullen.
Right.
That would be great. That would be great.
Scenario. Yeah.
But that also means that you're losing to some not so lovely teams. But
not really. Yeah, Kentucky and Mississippi State for sure. But you still
not the worst.
Not the worst. Yeah,
but something. No, I would take that if, and we're talking about like what's the best of the worst. Then that would probably be the best to take down those guys, and then we can maybe have a nice little search for a coach in the offseason. Now, I came in so hopeful for the season. I wanted to keep my expectations tempered, like I've told you. Yeah. And now I just feel like it's all getting validated, man. I feel like now
I like that label, though. I like that label. Hopeful but tempered.
Yeah. I think that has become, which is crazy because you go back to 2006, 2008, the prime years of Gator Nation. You go into that next year going, we've got a team. And the expectation is we're going to the championship every year. And you have that in your heart, like this is going to happen. Now we go into every season going, can we even make the playoff? Will we even win 8 games this year?
No.
And that should not be the standard here, especially after 4 seasons. I don't care how Billy has been given all of the resources that he could have ever dreamed of. And there's no excuse in year 4 to still be a 500 or sub 500 coach for the Florida Gators. It's that simple.
Exactly. Like that was another reason. Like it wasn't a Billy Napier thing for me. It's like any coach at Florida in year 4. This is an expectation I'm putting on you. Yeah. And failed to meet the expectation so far to begin season 4 for Billy Napier. One more news item, and we'll get out of here, Alex. Caleb Banks certainly came back, was a force for the snaps he was in there versus LSU. Gets hurt again. Looks like I'd be surprised if he plays another down in a Gator uniform, unfortunately. So now, Brendan Beck comes back in that game after his spitting incident the week before. Malachi was out, so we got to get him back into the rotation as well. But, man, stinks for Caleb Banks, man. I mean, all the draft hype, all the SEC hype, missing the first couple of games, finally gets back, and now pretty much going to miss this season when he honestly could have been in the NFL this year. I don't think it hurts his draft stock all that much, but, man, just terrible for Florida, but terrible for him too, of all the heightened expectations this season we've talked about, wanting to go to the SEC championship, fight for a playoff spot, and in your last go around in a Gator uniform, and just a couple quarters, and there he is out again.
Yeah, I mean, call me crazy, but are we not like one of the most injured teams in the SEC? And then like every year, I feel like we've got 10 guys on the injured list, and I look at the other team's injury report, and it's like 1 or 2 guys are questionable, and that's it. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just feeling that because I'm a Gator fan and I just notice it more. But I feel like every year we've got significant injuries that hamper this team. You got Trey Wilson last year that was out for a while. You get DJ Lagway that gets hurt. You get obviously Graham Mertz gets hurt. You have all these injuries of these major contributors, and it just puts a damper on the season because you have these guys you're so hyped up for, and then you don't get to see them play. I had mentioned early on that my concern would be DJ Lagway getting hurt earlier on in the season. And now we're seeing arguably our biggest defensive contributor going down and being out for likely the season. So,
and the reason he's the biggest contributor, you may not see it stat wise, but man, he makes George Gum so much better. Tyreek Sapp so much. I mean, the guys around him, he was getting double and triple teamed against LSU, and George Gum sit there and he's the benefactor of a guy like that. And now that's the force you're going to be missing in the middle.
Absolutely. And, I will say this, and I keep throwing it back to our previous podcast when I mentioned that I thought Miles Graham would be our leading tackler, and he's been playing lights out.
Yep.
And he's been playing, and he's a young guy. And I think that you're going to need to see him step up and be a little bit more vocal for this defense, kind of take that leadership role from Banks, even though they play different positions, obviously. But
yeah, I mean, he and Sapp are going to have to just be the guys to find a way just to not let this thing get so far out of the way on defense.
Yeah, which shout out defense. They have played lights out. All these guys, everyone's talked about the Cormani McLean, tracking down that guy, not letting him score in the last minute and a half, 2 minutes of the game. That shows heart right there. And I think that this defense, despite everything that's going on, has showed a lot of promise and a lot of heart. But they can only do that so long without help from the offense. Yeah. And, I feel for the guys who are injured. I hope that, if anybody else gets an injury, you look at guys like Dallas Wilson, you wonder, does he risk even playing this year with what's going on?
LJ McCray.
Yeah. Same stuff. And so I hope the guys kind of band together. They stick through it. The defense, I sincerely hope they keep playing well. My only fear is that this weekend is the breaking of the floodgates, that we see Miami open it up on us and we get beat by 20.
I mean, and we saw it with the other past coaches that we've had, where there's Jim McElwain or Will Muschamp, where hey, look, those defenses are really good, but there are certain games or something that it doesn't matter. It eventually comes to where you might even start out well in the game, but midway through the second quarter, third quarter, you can't keep holding.
Yeah. And so we'll find out, man.
We will. Alex will be down there taking some beautiful photos down there. And hopefully you don't get a big delay like Miami had last week against USF. It was a long, it felt like a couple hour rain delay in that game. So hopefully the weather's beautiful down in Miami, like we know it can be sometimes, and taking those beautiful photos.
Yeah, man. And of course, as always, we'll be back on here showing them win or lose. Yep. Obviously the YouTube viewers can shut their eyes if they don't want to see the assuming it's a bad result, they may not want to look at it, but I'm excited as always. I'm always a Gator through the good times and the bad. And we'll see what this team's got in store for us.
All right, everybody, that'll do it. Catch us next week. Take us for another edition of Focused on the Gators with Alex Shepard.